A resolution to approve and readopt 2011.
Hmm. We have unanimous.
Thank you.
Resolution passes. At this time, we'll hear from our city's clerk.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
All right. A resolution to approve and readopt 2011 redistricting map for the Commission of the City of Waycross, Georgia, pursuant to ordinance number 11-07, to authorize filing with the Secretary of State of Georgia and Clerk of Superior Court of Ware County, Georgia, and for other purposes. By adopting this resolution, the City Commission will readopt the 2011 redistricting map for the Commission of the City of Waycross pursuant to ordinance number 11-07 and authorize its filing with the Secretary of State and Clerk of Superior Court of Ware County, Georgia, in order that it may become effective in time for the next municipal elections, including a special election to fill a vacancy on the City Commission in District 4 and general election. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commission, you've heard the resolution read by our city's clerk. What is your pleasure?
Move for approval.
We have a motion for
Second.
approval and a second. The motion was by our Commissioner Nelson, seconded by our Commissioner Felder. Any discussion on this resolution?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I would like to say something, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
This has been long overdue. As you know, I've had some problems with this ever since 2011. Up to 2015, I complained. I went to the county and the Board of Elections back then. I told them there were two maps. I did it again in 2019. They said it can't be two maps, so I contacted the Secretary of State's office and I filed a complaint with them. They verified it was two maps. So this did not change until 2023, after I decided to run. And this is what happened then. After me saying Chicken Little, the sky was falling, no one heard me. So I'm glad the Supreme Court had to step in to make a decision on this. All 9 justices concurred. The 10th abstained because he's a member of Waycross. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion before moving to vote?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Felder.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that I think it's important for us as a commission and as a city to ensure that our voters in all districts have the right to exercise their right to vote. Having the confusion regarding the maps, it shouldn't have been. And it's something that should have been resolved a long time ago. But I'm glad that we're at a point where this is getting resolved so that citizens can exercise their right and there's not any confusion about which district they do or do not live in. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, we'll move into voting. District 1,
Yes, sir.
District 2,
Yes, sir.
District 3,
Yes.
and District 5.
Yes, sir.
Unanimous. The resolution passes. At this time, we come to you, Madam Clerk, to hear our last item.
A resolution to order a special election to fill the vacancy in the office of Commissioner of the City of Waycross, Georgia, Election District 4, created by the death of Diane Hopkins, to fix the qualifying fee and period for qualification for said office, to authorize the Board of Elections and Registration of Ware County, Georgia, to perform all duties as Superintendent of Elections associated with said special election and runoff, if any, pursuant to the official code of Georgia, annotated section 21-2-45C, and to authorize the city clerk to perform all duties of Superintendent of Elections for the qualification of candidates for said special election. By adopting this resolution, the City Commission will call for a special election to fill the vacancy in District 4 created by the death of Commissioner Diane Hopkins on January 29, 2025, to be conducted by the Board of Elections and Registration of Ware County, Georgia, on the next available date of Tuesday, June 17, 2025. The resolution will also authorize the city clerk to perform all duties of Superintendent of Elections for the qualification of candidates for said special election. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have heard the resolution read by our city's clerk. Commission, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Bennett?
I'd like to make a motion, if I can, that we accept option 3 for the November election.
There is the motion.
Mr. Mayor, just a point of order, the resolution before you is,
It says June.
right, it's June 17th day. That is what you're considering.
Okay. So we have open resolution and looking for a motion. It's for June, or we don't have any other option right now because this is the resolution written for June. No motion? Okay,
Mr. Mayor, can I say something?
you can.
For a point of clarification, it was my understanding yesterday that since we didn't have a consensus on June, September, or November, that we would entertain it and put it on the agenda anyway, and it would be addressed today.
Well, if you don't go forward with this particular resolution, then the floor will be open for you to consider other options.
Okay. So I'm assuming the floor is still open for that, Mr. Mayor?
Well, what I have before me is a resolution read for June, and since there is no motion and no second, I have now an opportunity to hear the motion that was given by our District 2. Your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make a motion that we go with option 3 to have November election for the seat in the late Commissioner Diane Hopkins, District 4.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion from our Commissioner Bennett, a second from our Commissioner Roberts. Any discussion on this resolution? I have a discussion. One of the concerns that I had initially when listening to this, I do know back in April of last year, we were going through the same process. And the process, we understood, we were told by the city attorney, based upon the information that had been given, that we had the opportunity to come and vote at that time on a night, and I believe the family of Mr. Davis came in, stood behind me, and we were to vote that night so that we could move into a special time to vote. However, we did not have quorum, and as a result, we failed to meet the time limit that would have been a county election, if I'm not mistaken. At that time, the election would have been in May.
Correct.
But as a result of us not having quorum, we then in turn had to postpone it all the way until November because we could not get anyone to show up for that. With that also being said, we also had I believe it was January the 7th, we had an opportunity for this very same reason, for a special election. And the conversation we had was around having this sent to the General Assembly. And the General Assembly would have dealt with this if we had 5 votes. We only had 3. We had 3, which is our normal quorum, that could have pushed this to the next thing, but we had, at that time, only 3, which would have been Districts 1, 2, and 5, and we had no for Districts 3 and 4. And that kept us from going to send this up. And of course, the mayor is not even included in this at this point. So if something happens, God forbid, that the mayor is not able to fulfill his duties, there's still, or in this case, my duties, there will be no one to be able to sit in that space. So here we are at this point with somewhat of a dilemma. We have a motion and a second. No discussion was being had here. But here I want to call for the vote since there's no more discussion. And I'll start with District 1.
Yes, sir.
District 2.
Yes, sir.
District
Nay.
4 is not here, so 5. What do you have?
Yes, sir.
So we have 3. And so as it stands, will be November.
That is correct. Takes 3 votes to carry your resolutions.
That's correct. So as it stands, this resolution passes for November. Any other business before us? Any questions? If not, we move
Yes,
to our
ma'am, I have
last
a
call, and I'll let you have your discussions in last